So, Dr. Saran, thank you very much for giving us the time. The Kigali Global Dialogue, what is that? And what is it supposed to achieve?
Kigali Global Dialogue is an integral part of a world that requires new ideas, new voices, and new leadership. The Kigali Global Dialogue seeks to do exactly that. Incubate new ideas, discover new leadership, and promote new solutions for this world that requires a number of responses. Responses to climate, responses to development issues, responses to gender, technology management and governance. There are a whole basket of issues that the world is struggling to respond to. And it's very clear that the old world, Europe and North America, are incapable of responding to it by themselves. And they need to work with others. But more importantly, their context is very different to ours. So even if they were to discover some responses, they may not necessarily be relevant to Africa or relevant to India or relevant to the wider Asia. And the Kigali Global Dialogue is an arena where we want to bring the North to us, to listen to us, to learn from us, to understand our context, to share their solutions, to share their ideas, to contextualize them, but also to take solutions from us. Because we are going to be the first geographies, Africa, India and other parts of Asia, who are going to grow in a green and clean way. We are the first geography. They never did that. They don't have the solution for that. We have to move from $1,000 per capita to $10,000 per capita using lower carbon fuels, through lower carbon emissions. We have to use technology to grow our economies. They are using technology after they have grown their economies. So we are the pioneers of devising solutions for the digital future, of finding solutions for the green future, of including billions in our development plans. They were serving a very small constituency. I always say that America served the top 500 million. We have to create solutions for the next 7 billion. And I think Kigali Global Dialogue is one of those small contributions that we can make as organizers to contribute to this effort of new leadership coming out of Africa, such as Kigali, but also out of India and Indonesia and other parts of the world. And we hope that we can bring the best minds, the crazy minds, the innovative minds together to get to know each other, to build communities of action, communities of interest, and find for us the answers we so desperately seek. So Kigali Global Dialogue is an attempt to find a part of the answer that we seek in this century.
Your background is looking at the challenges that face us, specifically climate change.
Mm-hmm.
So describe to us, you wake up in the morning, you have your breakfast and you're thinking, goodness me, let's do what?
You know, I woke up in the morning 2 times. Once in 2016, 2015, I woke up in the morning and I said, why is it that the Munich Security Conference is where the entire leadership of the world gathers to discuss global stability? Why is it that Germany has that importance and that central role in bringing together thinkers and practitioners and army generals and air force leaders? And why is it that countries that are bigger, countries that have greater stake, countries that have bigger responsibilities are not doing the same? Why is it that India does not have a big conference on foreign policy and security and global governance? And we built the Raisina Dialogue in New Delhi, which is now one of the world's biggest conferences. And I want to invite your media house to come and join us and report from there. And we bring together 2,500 leaders from 120 countries each year to New Delhi to debate the world, and it's today arguably at par with any other global convening and gathering. And that was when I woke up the first time. When I woke up again in 2018, I said, look, we are still missing a significant part of what the world needs. Okay, we've got India on the world map, we've got India as part of the global conversations, we've got Asia somewhat involved. But where is Africa? We need African leadership. Just as we needed India to be in those conversations, we also need Africa to be on these conversations. And we don't want Africa to come and speak in foreign lands. We want Africa to speak at home. And we want to be in their house so that they are free and comfortable. And of course, your hospitality is legendary. So they are also great hosts, and we were wanting that entire experience. And so we decided that we need to host we need to work together with a partner so that we can help build a global conversation out of this very dynamic continent. And I decided in 2018 we need to do it. And so I sent a few letters to ambassadors of a few countries. I'm still waiting for answers from nearly all of them. I only got one answer, and that was from Rwanda. And they said, please come to our country. When are you wanting to travel? We want to have a meeting. We want to take this forward. And within a few months of us having sent the letter, we hosted the first dialogue. In less than a year, we were in Kigali hosting the first dialogue. We had 200 people down, including some locals. This year we have 220 international speakers and another 100 local attendees. We want to grow this into a conference which will have 500 international speakers and experts and leaders coming down in the next 2 to 3 years. And we want this to become influential arena which gathers best minds and produces great ideas.
So it is fair to say that the Kigali Global Dialogue is the offspring of the RESIN.
I would say it belongs to the family. It belongs to the family and not necessarily the offspring. Let me just say it is a fancier younger brother, right? It's a younger brother since it's younger, but by no way is it less important or less influential in what it seeks to do.
When you had this idea, you sent several letters, as you said, to various embassies. In what, for you, was a burning idea, was a burning need. It's important to try and understand why it is that they didn't latch onto it immediately. Because that, I say it's important because that necessarily determines how they will receive it, even from
Look, I think it's a deep question. This is a very deep question. Now, I will have to really explore the realm of philosophy, psychology, and consumer behavior to be able to respond to you. But I would suspect that, like in India, as recently as a decade ago, or maybe a decade and a half ago, the idea that we should be the curators of conversations, we should set the agenda of discussions, we should hold the pen instead of being the takers of rules and beneficiaries of someone else's generosity, was alien. This idea was alien. The idea that we can be the host of big thinking, of future thinking, of problem solving, of proposing solutions, of being agents of change, is still dawning upon us. Many of us, India, many parts of Africa, we are young nations. We may be old civilizations and old cultures and we may have long histories, but as modern nations, we are coming out of colonialism. We have been ravished by the excesses of certain countries. We have our own individual challenges around poverty and deprivation, around most of the development questions of our times. So we are more inward looking in that sense and trying to solve our own problems. And we sometimes feel perhaps that because we have so many questions to answer at home, it is maybe not appropriate for us to be putting together forums that are seeking to answer questions for the world. And here I disagreed. I said that's not true. If we solve the problems, we are solving them for the world. If we achieve the SDGs, the world achieves the SDGs. If we develop clean growth models, the world is not polluted or less polluted, or it does not get warmer and does not burn because of our industrial pathways. So actually, what I am committed to, and I am absolutely clear about, is that our own efforts at solving our domestic problems, whether be it in countries in Africa or be it India or be it even parts of Eastern Europe and Latin America, what we do at home is part of a global response to what confronts all of humanity. And it's okay if we bring them into our conversations. Maybe they can learn a thing or two as well. Maybe they can design their development partnerships differently. Maybe the MDBs can be reformed, the development banks can be more empathetic. Maybe they will understand our security and vulnerabilities. And so the idea was that we don't have to hide our challenges. We should in fact share and discuss them. What we have done right could be lessons for everyone. Where we are going wrong, someone else could contribute and correct us. So the idea that we should not be the capital of high thinking is flawed. And I think many countries therefore felt a little reticent and hesitant to play that role. Rwanda has always been exceptional in thinking ahead. In my view, Rwanda sees itself as Singapore of this part of the world, where they will have power of convening, they will have power of finance, they will have power of technology, they will have power of a robust services sector, they will find solutions for themselves, for Africa, maybe even for the world. Look at the ambitions they have around pharmaceuticals, look at the ambitions, look at what they did with the drones, the zipline issue, right? They not only introduced drones and used them for responding to the requirements of people who were living in distant areas, but they also created regulation around it because no one in the world had done that. So they not only used technology, but they also wrote the rules for technology. And I guess Rwanda, being Rwanda, responded to me in less than 72 hours. And this is, here I am, 5 years in this beautiful country, 3 editions. We couldn't do a couple because of the pandemic, but we've had 2 since then. So
let's look at that. Raises an important question, and I suppose one that can be answered looking at how the original conversations, dialogue in India has gone. You do not promise to find solutions, but you simply say to the world, we're going to explore ideas from a broader section of humanity. So at what stage do the ideas and the solutions come together to avoid moving in parallel lines for
look, I think that's a fair question. I would suggest that gatherings such as the Raisina Dialogue or now the Kigali Global Dialogue are like the ideas exchange. We are not finding solutions. We are the platform. Solutions come to the platform and solutions find the user. So for example, if Rwanda has a use case of drones, which they have used to enable people to access medicines and important essential services, and countries who are seeking similar answers find the solution in Rwanda. If both of them meet on this platform, the solution is finding the question, and we are helping the solution find the question. It's an exchange. We are not the creators of idea. We are the curators of conversations. We are the curators of who is invited. We are the curators of the themes that are going to be focused on. We are the curators of ensuring that the right ecosystem is built so that friendships, partnerships, collaborations, and solutions can flow.
Now, I would imagine that you've discovered quite a lot since you started it, Rising.
I mean, I can tell you a few.
Yeah.
I can tell you a few concrete items. Number one, when we started Raisina, there was great hesitation in the Quad countries, the Quad group, to come in public, to talk in public, to even say that there is a group, what is their agenda. This year we had all the 4 foreign ministers speaking on the same panel at Raisina. 4 years ago, we brought all the admirals from all the 4 countries wearing their uniforms onto Raisina. The hesitations of an idea in the practitioner's mind, in the policymaker's mind, was removed at the Raisina Dialogue. Raisina Dialogue has become, in many ways, the ground zero of giving shape, form, ambition to Quad. That's one part. But let's try and look at some other solutions, more real-world solutions. We have startups all over the world. Rwanda is investing in the innovation culture. You have an innovation hub not very far from here. We have bought 25 startups from 12 different countries who are going there tomorrow to engage with them, hopefully make collaborations with them, make partnerships with them, work together with them. We have 12, we had 10 Rwanda startups at the Raisina dialogue, at the technology dialogue that we host, another dialogue that we host. In India last year, they went to Gurgaon, Delhi and Bombay. They saw the biggest companies, they saw the investors, they met the market, they learned how to do things, they shared their own experiences, we learned how they did things, and some of them are already in collaboration with them. For example, digital public infrastructure, the open source based digital architecture is already now a thing in Rwanda. They are already exploring it. They are already trying to build their own version of it and take it forward, right? You have your payment systems. Now, how do we make it cross-platform in nature? That's something that we are working with many countries in Africa on, right? So we are already seeing concrete partnerships, whether it is geopolitical partnerships, whether it is business partnerships, whether it is convenings that can help us agree to joint proposals to be given to multilateral development banks. So for example, right now we are working together on reforms of the multilateral development banks for climate finance, and we saw in Raisina we have come up with a joint publication with the North and the South coming together. So the list is endless. Every dialogue, without any great scheming or plotting, naturally creates new partnerships and new solutions. And our job is not to necessarily be the clever broker. Our job is to be the honest platform. Allow people and allow the creative energies of others to infect all. And that is what we do.
There's a reason why various decisions are made in certain parts of the world, in Western countries. I mean, to be fair, they've done the research, they've done the background. But the other reason is that humanity is competitive more than it is collaborative. So people will be looking to control things. We have phrases now that have entered into everyday conversation, like the world order, the rule-based order. Somebody designs the world order, and somebody decides on the rules in the rules-based order. And they're not going to relinquish it that easily. So how do you manage? You are looking at the South in a way, getting on par with everything that people have done competitively rather than collaboratively. So how do you manage to persuade them and say, well, look, it's better for all of us to discuss this?
You're right. Let's be honest. If we were to make a confrontational proposition that give me what is yours because I deserve it, I need it, and it would be fair and moral and ethical, you would face resistance. It's not going to happen. We have tried it. We have thrown morality at people, we have thrown ethics at people, we have thrown our own individual experiences of being colonies at many of the developed economies. Look, there is limited returns on that approach. This world, as you rightly said, is a realist world. People look after their own interests as individuals and also as nations, and that is indisputable. But I, for one, truly believe that there is a power of a collective, and that power of a collective is more than the sum of its parts. Our individual influences added together are less than the influence of a collective that will have all of us. And it is that what needs to be leveraged. Africa as a continent has dynamic economies, fast growing economies. In fact, one of the most dynamic regions of the world, of course, and I'm not necessarily focusing too much on the current where we have certain struggles, but simply because of its demographic features and its rather low per capita incomes, it is going to outgrow, certainly in pace and in velocity, any other region of the world. But Africa, as a union, African Union, is far more likely to achieve concessions, relinquishments and admissions into key groups than the smaller member states that comprise AU. I also believe that India and Africa, or Asia and Africa, can together achieve a far greater level playing field in the world order than individually. If we were to think about this century not as the Asian century, but as the Afro-Asian century, we are, one, likely to have a more correct assessment of our future, but B, we are likely to also have a more fair balance of power in the world. And therefore, I truly believe that we have for too long focused on the confrontational aspects of humankind and not necessarily celebrated the power of the collective. From time immemorial, from ever since we were created or we evolved into being the species that we are, let's be honest, folks that have done well have been very good collectives. They've been very efficient, smart countries or nations or tribes or villages or towns or cities, whichever form of collective you want to take. The power of many, if harnessed, brings greater returns than the ambitions and greed of one. And that is what we need to work on. So, while you may be right that self-preservation and self-interest are our natural instincts, but that is what leadership is about. That we need to tame them and we need to work collectively. For example, your President Kagame talks exactly about this in pursuit of togetherness, right? He talks about that collective, that if we are together, Rwanda can do better. That's true for the world. Now, it doesn't mean that individuals don't have the same basic instincts of self-preservation and self, but they tame them and train themselves to work together with others for greater benefits to all, including themselves. And that is what dialogues like these seek to do. It makes us acutely aware that there are others who are different and yet they are so similar.
Right.
Right. Okay,
so let's then, that leads us nicely to, again, an attempt at something a lot more concrete. This is the third Kigali Global Dialogue, and you would like it to be an Africa hub.
Not Africa hub.
Yeah.
I would like it to be the number one conference for anything to do with development and economic growth. I want it to be the go-to place to respond to human opportunities, human challenges, human crises, everything. This continent is the cradle of all of us. This continent should also be the cradle of the new world. The old world was born here. The new world is also likely to be crafted here. Okay. This continent will define our future, not alone, in partnership with Asia, in partnership with Europe, in partnership with Latin America. We have folks from 72 countries who are participating. So I am not making this, I think it is rather reductive to say that it's an Africa hub. This is a global hub for solutions for the world.
All right, so let me avoid trying to be too reductive or reductive at all. Nevertheless, you also want to be a place where those on the African continent can easily get to, right? Now, you will. It is the idea of discussing ideas and for development, for how people go forward, is very natural to Rwanda. I mean, that's Rwanda is built on that, so it comes quite naturally and quite easily, which may well be why it was so easy for you to contact the authorities in Rwanda. Presumably, though, you will need something from Rwanda to be able to bring in other African countries. This is the third dialogue. Has that happened, or are you looking for that to happen?
Look, let me, I think it's a very good question. And of course, we always look for more from all of us, including ourselves, as we grow this initiative. And let me just tell you that Rwanda offers all of that. So all that we want is responded to and is catered to. and is certainly attended to. So, but let me put it this way. We had discontinuity. We started in 2019, but then we had the pandemic years. And then we have only restarted again. So to be fair, while we may be the third year, this is the second start in some sense. And we have lost 2 years of evolution time in this journey, and we've had to restart again in some sense. Now, having said that, I'm happy that we have been able to gather close to 40 odd countries from this, experts and leaders from 40 countries here. We made South Africa make this a BRICS outreach event. We have made India see this as a G20 international outreach event. It's on the calendar. We have seen the First Lady of Zimbabwe come in person for the first time. Gender is a big focus. We saw one of the champions of gender come and speak here. We have an address from Comoros. We have the Sherpa from South Africa. So we've seen participation increase. Is this sufficient? Is this what I'm satisfied with? No. We want, at some point of time, that in Kigali we should have 20 head of states from Africa meeting and agreeing to doing great things together. They should be joined by head of states from other countries as well. Maybe not head of states, maybe foreign ministers, maybe development minister, maybe energy minister. But we should see a high-level gathering in the coming years. And I'm totally confident that in the next 2 to 3 years when we talk again, you will see that would be something that we would have delivered in partnership with the government.
Now, one of the things that will attract people is they will see the results of these dialogues. So what do you hope to be able to achieve concretely through the Kigali Global Dialogues that you can then say to people that, look, just show up?
Very simple. Yeah. You look, why will people be attracted to this? They will be attracted to this if a few things happen. One, they build partnerships that respond to their specific needs. So can they come to the Kigali dialogue and meet people, say, from the healthcare industry or from the renewable energy industry or from technology industry, build partnerships that help their own country, own regions. The second thing that makes a conference popular is if this is the places where big announcements are made and big global decisions are taken. Now, of course, or regional decisions are taken. So, of course, the AU should be present, UN agencies should be present, a key institution in Geneva should be here. That is the second reason why people come. The third reason they come because it has great visibility and popularity. That what happens here is noted and reported and reproduced. All three have to happen. And in the next 2 to 3 years, we want all three of these to be the key features of our conference. That you can make partnerships and do business, you can carve governance solutions and sign agreements and influence international organizations. And three, what you do here is going to be taken to the world. And we are working on all three fronts. We have already progressed and we are determined to do much more. But conferences beyond these three are also about intangible. And that intangible is the community and the friendships. That because you get to know someone, although it may not be a direct outcome of the conference, one day you will pick up the phone and use that relationship for some good cause, for either for your country or for your business or for your community. And that is already happening. We have so many partnerships that have emerged outside these halls because of the fact that they met inside these halls. That cannot be counted as our success, but we can take great pleasure in having incubated that friendship. And that is equally important. So I think the three tangibles and this intangible is really what we seek to offer.
All right, so it would be unfair, as you say, the interruption with the pandemic was a major interruption. It would be unfair to say what are the concrete things that have been done with the Rwanda dialogue. But you planted a seed, and that seed was to achieve certain ends. So tell us, whatever little that has come as a result of these, essentially two, because the third, as you say, was interrupted.
No, I'll tell you 2 or 3 things have happened immediately and very noticeably. Number one, Rwanda is now a permanent fixture in the global technology conversations. And we have contributed to that. We have bought technology startups here, we have bought Rwanda startups to the world. We have made Rwanda's digital economy and digital entrepreneurship more popular courtesy the Kigali Global Dialogue. It has happened. That is a concrete outcome. That's number one. Number two, we have brought hundreds of new minds to this continent. They are more aware of what's happening in Rwanda and Africa than they would have been without this dialogue. There is greater awareness in the development sector, in the political sector, in the economic sector. So we have hundreds of folks who matter in this world, who now come to this, who have come for the first time or second time or third time to this continent. Some have come back all three times, by the way. We have global universities, which this country is already hosting. Some of them they're already hosting, but we have global universities, like we have a professor from University of Cambridge, who's here second time, because she loved it the first time. She's come back the second time, and she has recommended others as well. So there is also greater interest in academia. Another area which this country hopes to become a powerhouse in, education hub for whole of Africa and perhaps the world. So it is already happening. Have I seen a big announcement by the AU in Kigali Dialogue? No. Have we seen a big national announcement? No. But today we heard the BRICS Sherpa talk about the challenges to BRIC expansion here. He formally made some big statements here on the South African BRICS presidency, and that's a good start. That he chose the Kigali Global Dialogue to explain the challenges and the issues and the opportunities and ambitions that the BRICS are confronted with. And a couple of things were absolutely novel to the conversations that we've had till now. They were new.
If things go as you would wish, what would you wish to happen? What would you want to see to happen? What would you push for?
I would judge the success of the dialogue with a simple development. If a couple of years from now, a few years from now, if your cabinet, the Prime Minister, the President are receiving calls that some high leader wants to be invited to speak at the dialogue, we would have achieved an outcome. For me, it is very simple. If the important people in the world want to be here, want to speak from here, want to share their ideas from this platform, we would have done our job as a platform.
And how do you get there? How does that happen?
Well, my grandfather would have said time, but I'm impatient. We'll get there soon.
All right. Let me then, as we come to an end, just say, the ideas that you're trying to inculcate, the ideas you're trying to incubate through this, not only the Kigali Global Conversation, but the Raisina conversations in India. As I mentioned earlier, you're essentially pushing at an established world that sees itself as already, rather an established part of the world that sees itself as already in ownership of these ideas.
No, so you know, I think again you are asking me very difficult questions.
Yeah.
But I think there are two parts to it. One, I would like to believe that as a platform, we are not pushing ideas. We are agnostic to ideas from everywhere. So we are not pushing ideas, we are not censoring ideas, we are not amplifying ideas. We are giving a level playing field for ideas with the best legs to win the race. Right? That's the first point. But having said that, I am not seeking to push against anyone. I am only seeking to, along with my partners, my colleagues, my mentors, I am only trying to demolish the notion that the monopoly over ideas belongs to a certain geography or a certain ethnicity or a certain language. Ideas are as universal as all of us are, and they belong to each one of us. Those ideas need to be heard. They need a mic sometimes, they need a bully pulpit, they need an audience. We are working at putting those together. We are trying to demolish the extreme monopoly over ideas that existed for the longest time.
Okay, so in coming to that, what do you think, what for you, again, looking at the experiences you've had with the Raisina conversations, and probably not, you still need to see how the Kigali Global Dialogue goes, but looking at the conversation, looking at what you've seen of the Raisina conversations, how do you manage to persuade, I think you want to do this consensually, how do you manage to persuade people to abandon those monopolies, or to just say even those monopolies would actually profit more if they became less monopolistic?
Actually, we don't have to persuade anyone. Monopolies exist when someone has the benefit of being the largest producer of anything or the largest owner of anything. Till now, they were the ones who were producing the ideas and owning them. So their monopoly was created simply because there was no other actor in the field. Our job is to create a new constellation of ideas, a new constellation of voices, and bring together the finest minds from different parts of the world. And once they exist, the monopoly over ideas dies anyways. Once there is a surplus of anything in the market, no one has a monopoly over anything. So we don't have to persuade anyone. All of us, India, Rwanda, other countries in this part of the world and my part of the world, have to realize that one of our challenges is to chronicle our thoughts, is to share our ideas, is to speak our views, is to speak it in manners in which others can communicate with us. We have not necessarily been, and this is also true, we have not necessarily made efforts to share our thoughts with different communities, with different people, with different cultures. We also have to make an effort. But the first step to all of that is that first we need to voice our ideas, form our ideas, speak our ideas. And once we do that, the monopoly disappears.
Okay. Well, lastly, what then do you expect to be happening the next year in the next global conversations and so on? And what would you say Rwanda as a country, as a government, has embraced the idea? So is there anything in particular you would ask of them for the coming
future?
Look,
I ask nothing from my host. I am a very grateful partner and very happy visitor to this fantastic country. I am, of course, determined that one day we will have your highest leadership present at the dialogue. We have to prepare for that day, and I hope it happens sooner rather than later. And I'm quite certain that once we have a few more editions, this will be the global forum for questions that matter most to all of us. So I want to use this opportunity to thank our partners. We will continue to work with them and continue to together build more ambitions into the program. And like I said, one day, not far away, people will be putting this date of this dialogue in their calendars and will be anticipating an invite. And when that happens, this dialogue would have made a contribution to the world.
On that note, Dr. Saran, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.